Chariots of Fire is a movie I had heard of growing up, but had never actually seen until just a few years ago. As soon as I saw it, it made an immediate impact on me. Now, this movie, for a long time, my favorite sports movie was Rudy. And then, upon further reflection and watching this a second and a third time, I'd have to say that Chariots of Fire is now my all time favorite sports movie. And the reason is because, just like with Rudy and a lot of other sports movies, most of the best sports movies, the main point is not necessarily about sports. Yes, sports plays a key role in it, but it's what's going on behind the scenes that's leading to this conclusion. So Chariots of Fire was nominated for 7 Academy Awards and ended up winning 4 of those, including Best Score and Best Picture. Now, the score is one that you will probably recognize if you Google Chariots of Fire score, Chariots of Fire theme song. It's one of the most enduring, lasting, and impactful scores in all of movie history, in my opinion. You can't hear it without being motivated to run or do something inspirational. It's a pretty awesome score, and that's how the movie begins and ends, is with people running on the beach to this song. But it was also the winner of Best Picture for 1981. So that means all the movies that came out in 1981, the Academy thought that this was the best. Now, the Academy has come a long way since then, and not for the better. I don't see any way that a movie with as much explicit Christian content, quoting Bible verses, talking about Jesus, would win Best Picture in today's Academy Awards, which is sad to see. But this movie was much deserving of that award, and it just shows what impact it made on the movie landscape at the time. So the title comes from a William Blake poem, which he got that from a couple of quotes from 2 Kings. It says in 2 Kings 2:11, "As they continued walking and talking, a chariot of fire with horses of fire suddenly appeared and separated the two of them. Then Elijah went up to heaven in the whirlwind." And 2 Kings 6:17 says, "Then Elisha prayed, 'Lord, please open his eyes and let him see.' So the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he saw that the mountain was covered with horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha." So I found this synopsis of the movie online, and I thought I couldn't think of a better summary of the movie, so I'm just going to read it. It says, "Chariots of Fire is based on the true story of 2 British athletes in the 1924 Olympics. Eric Liddell, a devout Scottish Christian who runs for the glory of God, and Harold Abrahams, an English Jew who runs to overcome prejudice." So these are clearly the main 2 protagonists in the movie, Harold Abrahams, and then the biggest star would be Eric Liddell. I'm in the habit of saying Liddell, but I think it's officially pronounced Liddell. So when a lot of people hear the name Eric Liddell, they think about the Olympics, they think about him not being willing to run on a Sunday. And so there's a really neat scene in the movie where he is speaking to the British committee, and he's telling them, because he found out late that he wasn't going to be able to participate in the Olympics because one of the meets that he was going to have to run on was on a Sunday. And so they're trying to convince him, and he says, I can't do it. They keep on at him, and he has this great quote. He says, "God makes countries, God makes kings, and the rules by which they govern. And those rules say that the Sabbath is his, and I for one intend to keep it that way." So although I don't necessarily agree with his conclusion that a Christian is not allowed to ever do anything on the Sabbath, I respect his steadfast resolve to do what he felt the Lord was leading him to do. And the fact is if he would have ran, and even if he would have won a gold medal in the meet that he was initially going to run in, we often probably wouldn't be thinking about Eric Liddell the way we do now. The fact that he took a stand for that which he thought was right is why oftentimes today people, when they hear that name, still think of his decision to stand up for Jesus. So shortly after this, he preaches from the book of Isaiah. He's got a full congregation, and he chooses to preach from Isaiah 40, which speaks about God being one who is above nations. And I think this is Eric's way of showing that, yes, the Olympics are important. Yes, I love my country, but God is eternal. God is my first allegiance always.
My text this afternoon is taken from Isaiah, chapter 40. Behold, the nations are as a drop in the bucket, and are counted as the small dust in the balance. All nations before him are as nothing. They are counted to him less than nothing. Vanity. He bringeth the princes to nothing. He maketh the judges of the earth as a vanity. Hast thou not known? Hast thou not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no strength he increaseth might. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. And they shall walk and not faint.
So at the end of the movie, Eric is allowed to run in a different race for an Olympic medal. And as he's getting ready to go into the blocks, one of America's top sprinters named Jackson Schultz hands him a piece of paper. And on the piece of paper it says, "Those who honor me, I will honor." And that's from 1 Samuel 2:30. And the first time I ever watched that, I was immediately impacted. I love that verse now because it does tell us that those if we honor God, God will honor us. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we will get first in every competition that we're in, or that it's a guarantee of health, wealth, and prosperity always. But it does mean that eternally we will have a blessed reunion with Christ, that whenever we're doing what's right for God, God's going to see that he helps us along the way. You know, during the movie, Eric says, "I believe that God made me for a purpose for China," because he was wanting to be a missionary eventually. So he said, "I believe God made me for a purpose for China, but he also made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure." And the thing is, for us, you know, whether we're fast or slow or whatever, the fact is not to be so focused on the sprinting point, but when we do what God calls us to, then we can feel his pleasure there. That if we're doing what God wants us to do, then he's going to be happy with how we are living for him. And so God gives all of us different abilities, different opportunities. We shouldn't be so focused on what that is as much as how we are using what God has entrusted with us for his glory. So that's one of the takeaways from the Chariots of Fire, is this one guy who, in the course of history, you know, we probably wouldn't know much about him if it wasn't for the fact that he took a stand for what was right. And yes, he was fast at the 1924 Olympics, but there was a lot of people there who were fast, and we don't know any of their names really. But we remember him because Eric Liddell decided to put God first in his life. And so I pray that for each of us, we would daily make a decision to put God first in our life. So I hope you have a blessed day, and see you next time.